We have to go for the gusto, because when you look at the gangsters out there, they're not going half in. They want the money. They want the bread. They want people to die if that's what it takes. They're in it to win it. What are we doing as artists, to go for the gusto? What are we doing to look back and be like, yo, I'm in it right now and I'm putting my shit out there every day?
Welcome to the Robertson Stash. Season 6 is brought to you by World Needs Cannabis, empowered by Puffco. How you doing today, brother?
Oh, I'm feeling awesome, brother. How you doing?
Welcome back to the podcast.
Let's go. It's good to be here, man. Good to be back. Good to be back.
Yeah. How was your travels in today?
Man, they were kind of wild, man. It's kind of a wild travel day.
What happened?
Man, I ended up just basically jumping on a flight, having to wake up at 3:30 to be at the airport at 4:30 so that I could catch a 6 o'clock flight, and then just ended up being kind of a close connector. I ended up being that guy. You know that guy.
Holding up the plane.
Running through the airport like a bat out of hell, and it was one of those things where 3/4 of the way through, it was about a 10-minute run through the Atlanta airport from like one concourse to the other. And, about 3/4 of the way through, I was like, is this worth it? You know what I mean?
Got your cardio in today.
I sure did, man. I sure did. Can I borrow that lighter?
Absolutely.
Thanks, man.
So, man, what's changed since the last time you were on?
Shoot, man, there's been some change afoot. You know what I mean? I think the last time I was on, we were talking about, pivoting and shifting directions within the industry. And, I remember at that time I was talking about trying to use that time to pivot to get into into your health and to try to, really focus on, using that downtime to go inward. And so I'm happy to say that, I never had a goal weight or anything like that, but I'm happy to say I'm 50 pounds down and, feeling a lot healthier in life, and still maintaining that, going to the gym every day.
You go to the gym every day?
Or hot yoga.
Okay.
And the gym doesn't have to be the physical location. I do have a YMCA membership, but, it can just be a kettlebell in the bedroom. It can be 100 squats, 100 crunches to get your heart rate up. But, if you can get 20 to 40 in every day is ideal.
When do you do that? First thing, or
usually first thing?
Get the blood moving,
yes.
Get woken up.
Yep. Yeah. It's something that you kind of get it out of the way, and it kind of gets you a good start to the day. So.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, man. Yep. So
so you focused on health the last couple of years.
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time, man.
Seems like a consensus amongst a lot of people.
Yep. Yep.
Health is wealth right now.
Yeah, we're all getting a little bit older too, We're not getting younger, so I think we're all becoming aware of it.
Do you have any beliefs that you no longer believe now? Like from 5 years ago or whatever, when you were on, or a few years ago?
Yeah, I can't say that I have any that come to the top of my head, but I like to think I'm always, my beliefs are, they're not fixed. I don't have a set way of being. I have things that I believe in, but I'm always open to change.
Do you have a code that you live by?
I would say that I have somewhat of a code,
Yeah.
Yep.
The karma code.
Yeah, it's kind of a hip hop code, staying in pursuit of like health, wealth, and knowledge of self. Just kind of keeping those things in frame of mind. That's one of my codes that I live by. That's a hip hop credo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if the karma code was a book, what would the 5 chapters be? Hip hop.
Dang.
All right.
Yeah, the 5 chapters. That's hip hop, glass blowing, fatherhood, husbandry, and I would say the maybe the last chapter would be called Cosmic Debris, which would entail all the other smatterings of life thoughts that I had.
Nice.
Yeah.
That could be a bestseller.
Hey, you never know, man. Because stranger things have happened, man.
So, yeah, dude. I mean, you're a very good at marketing and networking and building the Karma Tribe up.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah. What do you, that's an important part of the biz, isn't it? Like kind of building your fan base.
It is, man.
Like
it is, man.
Yeah.
I was recently having a discussion with a couple notable glassblowers, and we were discussing that, gosh, that's got to be 50% of it. You know what I mean? Is being able to connect with people, and he was saying, man, it might even be 60 or 70% of it, and there's something to that, I suppose, where, I think it was Harvey Littleton that said technique is cheap, and there's something to that, I think,
Technique is cheap.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
He was one of the forerunners of the, studio art glass movement, and I think what technique is cheap means is that, like, you can master many, many, many techniques and still not have a flourishing art expression and or career.
Yeah.
And because, technique is only a certain part of it, and technique is available to everyone. Technique is something that we can all go and we can all study under the similar masters and then their apprentices and traditions. And so, I think that, that's something that you've built out pretty wide, is the marketing as well, that, you've been able to take an idea and then put it into many different forms, but keep those forms, tight. You've got tight grouping of forms that really are signature to your creation.
Yeah.
And so I think as we express ourselves in borosilicate, we have to learn the technique. Mm-hmm. It's not that technique is unvaluable. It's just, that
it's part of it.
100%. You got to have tech. Mm-hmm. But I think, like, as we try to find a vehicle for our expressions, those end up going through people. People are our vehicle for our expressions. We express what we want, and then the only way that it gets appreciated is by the human being.
Yeah.
So we can make the coolest, most fascinating, most techie piece of art, but if it's not appreciated by the people, and if the people don't give it a voice, then, it falls into the category of so many talented artists over the years who have had an amazing amount of technique, but no willingness to give people something to attach their ship to. Mm-hmm.
Do you think if there was no one on this earth left, like you were the last man on earth, do you think you'd be creating the same work, or would you be?
There's no way. There's no
creating.
Way. I mean, like the last man on earth, I would imagine, would have some pretty, interesting expressions, if any at all. I mean, it takes a lot.
Would you think you'd create, or would you just explore?
That's hard to say, but putting myself in that position,
have you seen that show, Last Man on Earth? It's great.
I haven't.
Oh, it's good.
Well, yeah, putting myself in that position, it's it's hard to say, what kind of feelings I have. You go to that movie Castaway. It's like, what your form of art would probably be creating a Wilson, so you could have someone have someone creating a little robot, so you had someone to talk to.
Yeah, maybe for your own sanity. We need probably a couple lighters.
Yeah, 100%.
Is there a line you refuse to cross, even if it costs you money?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, give me some in the business sense.
Yeah. Like, what if, what if you're doing business with somebody who, you find out they're openly abusing their spouse, openly abusing their children,
yeah.
Like how do you, how do you interact with that,
Has that ever happened to you before?
It's never happened to me, but I've,
Oh, thank you, bro.
I've thought about it, it's like, what do you do if you find out that, somebody that you're working with is just, not doing kind things, what do you do when you find out that cats that, you've been interacting with, they're just they're not kind to women, you know, they don't treat animals properly. Ooh. Like for instance, you know what I mean? Like, what do we do when people cross these lines that all of us as human beings believe are not a crossable line, you know? So it gets to a point where, you know, it's never happened to me, but I've thought about it. You know what I mean? I've thought about what are the lines that I will and won't cross, you know? And, you know, I think that one of the things that is hard to hold on to as you get more and as you proliferate any career, whether it's glass blowing or whether it's metallurgy or whether it's musicianship, any artistry, or even becoming the top dog, a partner at a law firm, you know, is to keep your humility and to remember your roots and remember, you know, the line in the sand that you drew from yourself from the beginning, you know, and that's, you know, that's morals, you know, and that's integrity. And so that's something that, you know, it's hard to teach and it's hard to maintain, but
especially when you work for yourself and you don't have any, you know, you create your own structure in your life. It's good to put a little discipline in there, I think.
110%, man.
Yeah.
Yep. I think that's like, you know, one of the things that, you know, getting active and getting physical teaches is discipline. That, like, you know, everything, there's a, you know, every yin has a yang, every action has a reaction.
Jinx.
Yeah, like, you know, so karma, you know, things.
Karma. So you believe in the karma principle itself?
125%.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not just a name to you.
No,
it's
man.
a lifestyle.
No, it started in the MC circles, man. It started when, you know, I had a name that represented, you know, what I was trying to express, you know, and it was, you know, conscious action, righteously manifesting awe. That was what karma stood for in the MC.
Really?
Yeah, in the MC days. And so it was, you know, looking to
conscious with a K.
Yeah, and like looking to people like KRS-One, who had a name that meant knowledge reigns supreme over nearly everyone.
No way.
And so I was like, okay, man, what can I do to mirror that? And, you know, that was somebody I looked up to. So when I started blowing glass, you know, taking the name Karma made sense. And, you know, it's funny, you know, taking that name is like become a bigger thing than I ever had anticipated. Just the name itself.
So it was your MC name before your glass name?
Oh yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, 100%. And you know, it's funny because, you know, people will be like, yeah, I don't know, karma's a bitch, man. And I'm like, oh yeah, like, you know, I love that saying because it represents the fact that, like, if you have those tendencies, you'll receive them back. Like, and so I always say, like, what have you been doing that you feel like karma's a bitch? You know what I mean? Like, what have you been up to in life, you know? Because I feel like, you know, I've had bad things happen to me just like anyone else, you know, and I've had plays that didn't work out that I thought were going to work out, or people I treated a certain way. I'm like, oh, for sure, this is going to be a good relationship, and they didn't. But ultimately, I see a mirror between the things that I put out into the universe and the things that I get back. Mm-hmm. You know, I see a very strong reflection.
That seems to be a going theme. Like I hear that a lot. You get what you put out.
Yeah,
you get what you give.
You only get what you give, man. Yep.
So, what do you think the biggest mistake some of these like glass artists are making that aren't, you know, like, what do you think the biggest mistake people are making right now?
You know, it's
in
hard.
The glass world.
It's hard to reflect outward in that way where, you know, it would be easy for me to look at somebody else's life movie, you know, that they've been living. This is somebody else's whole scene. So for me to look into somebody else's scene and be like, man, this is what's not. There's
no general advice, you think?
No, in that way, you know, I think some general advice is to, you know, stay connected, you know, with your community, you know, and to try to make sure that, you know, you're making decisions that ultimately in a 6 month and a 6 year period makes sense, you know? And so,
like that.
You know, there's been a lot of movement on pricing in the industry. And I always say, like, if you don't, you know, inflate your price, if your prices don't inflate too crazy, it's hard for them to crash down too crazy, you know? And my art has withstood, I feel like, because it's so very collaborative. I have so many different, pricing structures that exist. And within those pricing structures, there's always an ability to serve, and to get art into somebody's collection,
So having a variety of price points.
A variety of price points, being present with your community, and not taking for granted the fact that, these are the cats that give you a voice, these are the cats that ultimately serve you and your family. And so, yeah, I think that things that have worked for me are, definitely, staying in touch with my tribe. My tribe have always been my people. I like to say that, friends are tribe and tribe is family. You know what I mean? I have, so many collectors come into town, pick up pieces from my studio. I interact a lot. I do a lot of traveling, and I do a lot of showing up and being present at different places. And so
you do. That goes a long way.
I think that's an important.
Good. People love that.
I think that's an important part. Is allowing people to touch and feel who they're supporting and what they're about, and the vibe that they carry, So
is that what could possibly separate artists from plateauing to transcending?
Who's to say? The fun part about it all is that, like, I never would have thought I would be where I'm at, you know what I mean? And that this is all, a high blessing to me that I try to honor with hard work and as much integrity and as much showing up and being present as I can. So it's hard for me to say, what creates the best thing, because this is all,
But it seems like marketing and like this like building a solid foundation of like solid fans.
Yeah, I mean, and how do we do that?
Interacting.
Interacting, and then doing what we say we're gonna do. You know what I mean? Like
following through.
100%, man. Like taking accountability when we don't. It's like we're all human beings. We're not robots. We're artists. And as aforesaid, like, we're fathers, we're brothers, we're husbands. We have so many responsibilities outside of being artists, which when you're an artist, you're wearing 15 hats, you know that. It's like we ship, and if we don't ship and we have assistants, then we make sure that this is going through, and ultimately we're accountable for those actions, even if it's a mistake, positive or negative. We have to stand behind that. And so, all these different hats that we wear, I think sometimes the, person on the other end of the line, supporter, tribe member, consumer, however you want to label them, I think it's, easy for them to forget just how much we do and just how much we juggle just to manifest this little slice of the American dream. That's just this dying bastion of honest self-expression where we get to joyfully bring these little slices, these little crystalline slices of love into people's daily life, dude. And so it's like, this is magic. And people forget that it's magic. And so we got to, stay interacting with our people so that, they can see the kind of magic that's being woven. Because I think a lot of times people think it's like, oh, you just need to bop that thing out and get it to me. Where it's like, oh man, you don't even know what goes into it. You don't know the fact that it's like, man, forget my outside duties as a human being. Just within this thing, it's like we have to try to seek inspiration and like get on that torch, not just to like flop something out, but to feel something, so that when the end user feels something, it's like, whoa, man, someone must have been inspired or lit up when they were making this, And so, are
you always on that level when you're creating?
I would say 90% of the time, I do not like to create when I'm not in a good headspace. And so
that's a thing, man.
It's like, man, it's like, how do we maintain the flow? How do we maintain the headspace,
Yeah.
And part of that is by being transparent with people and being like, yo, your thing did not ship today, but it will ship tomorrow, X, Y, and Z. And even if we don't have that person-to-person communication, I know a lot of artists who have assistants, but just making sure that, we're being the, stand up people that they want us to be, because ultimately, as we've seen over the years, it's hard for people to find somebody through the internet in any capacity, whether you're buying seeds. I've seen it through the cannabis industry with seeds. I've seen it through 3D printing stuff. It's like, it's hard to find a guy who's on the other end of the line. He's solid. He's just an entity out there that
it's not like Kevin's pipe manufacturer.
That's right.
It's Karma Glass, and you're talking to me. I made them.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And I like to remind people that, like, you know, as things have kind of shifted and slowed down, and I've seen people get a lot more humble, and I've seen get a lot more hungry, which has been powerful. You know, it's powerful to see that the scene has coalesced in a way where, you know, when you run up on another artist now, you know, a lot more people are in it to win it, you know, and I remind people that, like, support me, that, you know, every time that I'm supported or that you support one of the homies in the glass scene, like, you know, someone's going to do a little happy dance, you know, like you're going to bring an energy into someone's, you know, into someone's scene. So, like, we're all, you know, makers that are, you know, struggling through this Babylon or this outer structure, whatever you call people living, people living normal lives and doing their normal jobs, and us having to basically take that energy and transmute it into, you know, something that brings inspiration, joy, and peace.
Yeah. Like something that will last for years, something that's, you know, not just a quick pleasure or whatever, you know, like it's something that brings people joy. Could go up in money, like could go up in value. And that's big time.
And that's one of the things, like, as we've seen the speculation of the glass market, I feel like that's one of the things that has brought people, you know, displeasure and not joy, is that instead of buying a piece of art because you know that this thing needs to be in your life, it needs to be a part of your ceremony, you know, and remembering that the things that we do in this life are sacred. The things that the patterns we weave, the relationships, these are the real treasures. Like, we facilitate these art pieces so that you can have your new best homie when you pull up to the sesh, and he's like complimenting this thing, and because you two have the same favorite artist, oh wow, it's a collab. You two have the same two favorite top artists, and it's like this is the treasure. This is the magic.
It's like the intention, and so having it, and that you put into it, and then when you smoke it, and the care you take of it.
100%. And so this is like, you know, this high level connoisseur medium brings about these things that we find so sacred in this human lifetime. And so it's like, man, we've got to do what we can to honor that by making the highest quality things with the most intention, you know what I mean? And in the best way that we can. So,
yeah. Sometimes, I mean, thanks for the reminder, dude. That's like, that is why I still do this for 23 years. And it's like, pretty cool.
Yeah, man. Well, it's easy to forget, you know.
It is. It's like becomes normalized, and you're like,
this is what we do. But, like, just like in the outer, you know, frame of life, like outside of the glass industry, it's easy to forget how special this life is. It's easy to forget how magic it is to wake up every day and take breaths of oxygen and just be alive, you know?
Yeah.
It's a special thing. And so, like, I'll be out there at the grocery store and people are like, oh, hey, good morning. I'm like, yeah, how are you? It's a great day to be alive. And they're like, and it kind of snaps them out of it, like, holy shit, yeah, you know what? The coffee was burnt, shit's not working out, but dude, this is magic, you know? And then so on the smaller spectrum of the glass industry, or the microcosm rather, it's magic.
Well, how do you handle having a bad day? What do you do to cope when things aren't working out?
You know, man, there's, you know, a few different mechanisms that I like to use, you know, and, you know, it starts at cannabis, you know, like it starts at the herb, man. Like,
try that.
You know,
first.
the one thing that herb can do for, you know, for me as a person is it makes everything better, makes everything more enjoyable. Like if I had, you know, and more introspective, you know, so if I had to go to a funeral, you know, would I do it with a joint? Probably so. You know, I'd probably have a joint, and I'd probably be able to look outside of myself and look outside of the situation and be like, wow, you know what? There's all these cool times. I can line up all these cool times I had with this person, you know, whereas I might go in, you know, not with cannabis in my system, and I might not feel those feelings or see outside of that lens. And so, you know, it starts there. you know, it moves to exercise. If you're not able to shake off a bad vibe with a joint, you know what I mean, then you got to hit the gym.
Gym always helps.
Hot yoga is a great expression. You know, I've tapped into hot yoga for the last year and a half, and it's been, you know, one of those things where you see somebody go vegetarian, you know, and then they've got to tell everybody that they're vegetarian. You know what I mean? It's like this thing, like, right? Because they find this crazy religion, and you're like, oh gosh, so-and-so's vegetarian, gotta tell everyone. And I'm trying not to be that person with hot yoga, but I can now see all my looked out, all my kooky hippie friends over the years that have tried to get me into that space, and I've always eschewed it. But now I truly find it as a place of release where it's like,
Bikram.
Yeah, and you know, within that studio that has what they call it now is 26-2, but within that 26-2 practice, there's like a whole plethora of classes that happen. So there's like a hot yoga that's the traditional hot yoga, and then there's a hot yoga that's like more of a to fun music and fast-paced poses, and then there's other ones that are like more HIIT workouts, which are like high interval intermittent training workouts.
Wow, all in the heat?
Yeah, all in the heated room. And so it's like, you know, it's really hard to go do jumping jacks and go do downward dog, do all these different poses and contort your body in a sauna basically for an hour and 15 minutes, and then get out of there and feel like, you know, it's time to ruminate about some of life's problems. It really is, you know, because you wrench yourself so hard. You really do bring yourself closer. You know, I've been doing it a year and a half, and I think about death when I'm in there.
Really?
Yeah. I think about dying, because it's like you feel just like, whoa, like, can I do this? And I feel like, oh, it's going to get easier. And it has gotten a little bit easier just mentally, because I know that, you know, 90% of it's up here, you know, but it's difficult. It's a difficult practice for me. And, you know, I get into that room. My saying that I've developed is there's nothing like feeling like you're going to die at 9:30 in the morning to make the rest of the day downhill cruising, you know? And so, those are two practices. And then, you know, I feel like just being wide open with the people that you love and you live with, you know, like I feel like a lot of our anxieties and depressions come from not expressing ourselves honestly, you know what I mean? And not being able to tell people the way we're feeling, you know? And so it's like finding a healthy way to tell everyone everything that you're feeling, you know? And so if someone lets you down in some way, you don't have to burn a bridge, or you don't have to be like, you know, oh man, you suck, you know, you didn't show, or whatever the thing is, you know, with whatever interpersonal relationship. But yeah, open communication. And then, I think lastly, I'm a human doing human things. You know, I put my pants on one leg at a time. I take a shit every morning. Like, I'm just here trying to figure it out too, you know? So I deal with that. And that's that, you know, I would say that 10 to, you know, maybe 15% of the time where it's like, oh man, like, you know, do I want to get on the torch and create today? Like, is this something I want to do, where I know for a fact there's 3 boards on the porch that need to be replaced. I know for a fact that my wife could use a day off. I know that, you know, so it's like, oftentimes things will coalesce in a way where, you know, if you're paying attention to the signs and symbols that are around you, it's like, I'm not supposed to work today anyway. Yeah. Like, what am I even doing? And those days that you do push past that and you do try to stack everything, you end up breaking the peace. You end up, you know, you end up making something and you're like, this sucks. Like, and you don't show it to anybody. You tuck it in the corner. You're like,
And you knew it would be a waste of time anyways when you started.
Exactly.
That happens to me sometimes too. So being self-aware of how you're feeling.
Yep. And looking at what the universe is trying to show us all the time. Yeah. You know, the universe, and like, you know, depending on how many seekers you find yourself around, like the more and more people that are open to, you know, being held accountable and being, you know, looking at the mirror, you know, then the better your chances are of, like, you know, being able to grow together, you know, and being able to be like, oh, hey man, didn't that suck when I was like that? Thank God I'm not like that anymore. And it's like, yeah, man, like, you know, and then being able to see, that person through a time when they're not, living up to being their best selves. Because short of doing things that are like the line breakers, like I think that I want to live in a world of forgiveness. You know what I mean? I want to live in a world where when we find out that our friends are snickering, behind our backs in a way where we go, oh my gosh, like that. And you just get so devastated and you might just burn the bridge. You might just say, I don't talk to this person anymore. But then put yourself in that person's shoes and understand that like it's so very human to get in the car after a Thanksgiving dinner and be like, oh my gosh, like what's going on with their porch? Like, that's so crazy. Yeah. And just being a human and observing human stuff in a way that's maybe uncomfortable to look at, because when we look at it, we go, oh my gosh, that's the things I don't like about myself. The things that they're snickering at are the things that my own friends don't like about me.
And even putting those words out into the universe, it's just like not negative. It's negative.
Yeah.
Vibrations.
Yeah. But on that thing, like we all have that in us. We all have the yin and the yang, and like we all want the flowers. We all just want things to be smelling rosy and just experiencing the flowers. But the flowers come from the mud. And it's sticky and it's yucky and it's like, oh, that's the negative of life. That's my friend's shortcomings. And it's like we link with our friends and our business partners, and we link and we're like, this is the guy. This guy can do no wrong. This dude is like totally impervious to any kind of negativity or anything. And then we find out, oh my gosh, this dude's a regular fucking dude. He's a regular human. And so, that's the other end.
Do you try every day to like be better at that? And
ultimately I'd like to think every day I'm trying to be conscious, and trying to be aware, and then again, that being said, like I would have to, be honest and be like, oh my gosh, how many days can I look back on in my lifetime and say, oh, that was very unconscious of me, or that was very unaware. You know what I mean? And so, it goes back to like being able to look at yourself and being able to, have homies in your life that are like, yo, dude, you got something in your teeth. And like, yo.
Yeah. Or catch it in the moment.
Yeah.
Or catch it before, it's going to happen, and wonder why you're feeling that way.
Yeah. Yeah. All things are tied to each other. So it's tough to not put your best self into your art. That's something that's really important to me.
It's not, wait, what?
It's tough to not put your best self. You got to put your best self into your art. It's tough. It's tough because anytime you do, it shows up, and so it's like if these little vessels are crystalline reminders of the way that we were feeling, acting, and behaving that day, where, then we want them to be special. We want we want them to bring vibes. Good vibes.
So have you ever, can you recall a time where you had to, things weren't going well and you had to just follow the karma code and you pulled through and you persevered and made it out of, onto the other side in maybe business or when you were coming up or recently?
Sure.
Is there any?
Sure, man. I mean, I feel like
personal.
Yeah. I feel like, through the whole process of trying to get out my name out there and to create larger pieces with other people, and as this karma tribe has even become a thing, there's been a lot of times that I've had to bet on myself, and I've had to pursue things that following looking for that health, wealth, and knowledge of self that ended up pulling me through in the end, but seemed very auspicious throughout the time. There's a lot of times that credit cards were maxed out to try to, create a body of work, and that, traveling across the country with my family, there were times where, leading up to shows, I was wondering, how is this all going to come together? Because I'm so up to my neck in debt, so there's definitely been times throughout my career where that's been the case, man. And
what do you tell yourself?
It's really tough, man. But honestly, this is what I feel like I'm here to do, and I remind myself that that's what I honestly believe is that glass is just the plate that we get to serve the ministry on, and whatever your ministry is, that's what that's what you get to serve. That's a thing that we can't we can't forget, that
you got to be like kind of delusional almost and just know. it's going to work out.
Well, it's the delusional is a real way to describe it, but the way that I think the entrepreneurs that came before me described it was like a shameless self-promotion. You've got to have it's funny because, I think there's a little bit of a meme that's like, I forget how it goes, but it's like, can a glassblower go anywhere without telling anyone he's a glassblower? And it's like, I'm that glassblower. I'm definitely the guy who sits down, still 16 years into it, sits down at restaurants and like tells people what I do and tells people why I do it, and I feel like, now that we've seen different arcs of the industry, people can understand why we've done it all along. It's because it's like most people still don't really even know about us. You know what I mean? As high as we've got, as far out as we've got, most people still, that we are still a subculture within a subculture. Everybody likes smoking cannabis. Yeah. Everybody does. Hell, now your grandma likes to take gummies and tincture, and your grandpa's going to tell you it's all good, like everybody's in, what I mean? So the culture has shifted, times have changed, but when I show people, hey, have you ever seen anything like this? That's still an 80 percentile of cannabis smokers. I mean, I've gone dispensary to dispensary on promotional tours throughout.
Oh, really?
Yeah, throughout.
How do you do that? Do you call ahead or?
So, well, in this instance, I was going throughout New Mexico.
Okay.
And I was representing a couple legacy glassblowers that were releasing hash strains, and so I used my ability to go belly to belly with people and connect with people as a way to promote them, and then as well have my glass on hand and be able to talk about what I was up to. So I looked at it as, an opportunity, not really to get paid, but to go ahead and just really test the waters out and see what was going on out there in that space, And so I took, 10 days and did that last year. And it was fascinating to me. I'd be talking to some of these dispensary owners about, some legacy glassblowers that I've revered for years and years. And I'm like, man, check this out. Look at what they're doing. We're doing these releases. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. I'll have to look them up. And then, a trimmer would come out of the back and be like, oh my gosh, are you Karma Glass? Can I get a picture? And I'm like, oh my gosh, like what's going on here? How was I recognized, but them not? Now, that being said, you'd pull their artwork out and everybody's on board. You pull the artwork out and these legacy glass, everyone's like, oh my God, you're blowing their minds.
Yeah.
But, it said something to me about the state of the industry and us, how, if we're not constantly out there refreshing ourselves and finding ways and new portals to connect with the up and coming people who are going to be excited about glass, I have a lot of collectors that are older, but 19 to 28, that's going to be like your main group. I mean, that's when I was a major glass collector. You know what I mean? That's what got my glass collection started. It was when I was 17, 18, 19, and way before I blew glass, I was a big glass collector.
Wow.
Shad, Magnum Mongkong down in Atlanta, and Bear Claw, had quite a few Bear Claw pieces. And this is like back in 2000, 2001, 2, 3, right there,
Wow.
And so it's like before I ever touched the flame, I was a huge collector, and if I didn't have a portal through 42 Degrees Atlanta.
That store?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's like a legacy store that everyone's heard of, and they were carrying some of these guys from Oregon, and some of these guys from California. I would have never been exposed to this. Now the portal is the brick and mortar is kind of struggling to be the portal. There's always auxiliary content or auxiliary products, I should say, that they're selling at these stores. It's always been something. We've been paired with something else for forever, And back in the day, like you go into a pipe shop, it was porn. It was pipes and porn. And you go and and you'd be like, why is this the case? Because like they were always using something to sell. Something was really moving for them to have this glass as an auxiliary content always. And then you move forward in space and time, and then it was spice. You know what I mean? And you see a lot of shops, selling the K2 and all the spice, and we went through that wave, you know what I mean, of the 2010s, you know what I mean, where shops were really thriving through that. And then it became, you see a lot of nitrous, and you see a lot of
tobacco,
or nitrous tobacco and kratom, so you always see an auxiliary thing at play. And as those things have been regulated and vapes are getting regulated, vapes is another huge thing that it became an auxiliary thing that we're the auxiliary thing, but that was the product that was
a lot of people into the store.
That was moving the revenue. And so, as that has changed and shifted and regulation has and over-regulation and whatever you want to say, we have been forced to, after having representation for years, it's you're harder and harder pressed to find galleries that are doing this in this way, that are the portal, that have the sickest glass artists at play.
Yeah.
And so we have to be the portal. We have to be the portal, we have to be the.
So what's the new format?
It's a mix between working with driven shops that have an absolute agenda, and that they do good business, they have a great reputation, and it's not because as a matter of principle, shows just got to the point where artists were presented with a budget, but no real structure. It was like, hey, here's a budget to create this body of work, but it was very rare that past, hey, let's do this sort of theme. You were, I've had, I can name, after having about 20 shows, I can name like a handful of shops that were like on it, clicking, moving, knew exactly what they were doing, weren't setting up the last day of the show, like, coming totally correct to provide an experience for these people who are going so far out of their way to, make this a thing and to put us on. And so that's an important thing is to, have, whether you have somebody you work with, a couple of good shops, you know what I mean? Or whether you're going direct to consumer, it's like, you've got to be a reason that people want to, invest into you. And not because, they think that your stock is going to double, but just because they think, hey, this guy's somebody who's going to be here in 10 years. That's a huge thing right now. Who's in this for the next round, and then, who is this guy that I'm supporting? And so the more that we can get out there and shake the hands and meet the people and show them, who we are and what we're about, I think the more that, we're going to have long-term standing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Got to do a little extra, do something unique.
Yeah, man.
You can't just post nice glass.
No, those days are gone, man. And it's that way about it's that way about marketing on Instagram in general. Like, you can't just interact with these social medias the way that we used to. Like, people are, I feel like, craving, in this sped up world, people are craving an intimate experience. You know what I mean? People want to know that, like, oh man, this crafter, and this is who I'm supporting. This is, what he does. He takes this input from this high sped up world and he slows down. And he takes the time to, make the thing. And if it doesn't work out, maybe even remake it, so that it, feels like the thing that we envisioned either together or that you allowed me to envision,
And speaking of that, you have one of these intimate parties coming up.
Yes, sir.
I think this might air after it, but
yes, sir. That's okay.
But it's pretty cool that you do that, and you really.
Yeah, we're trying to provide an experience for the tribe out in Malibu. It's going to be on March 21st, and so it's called Prismatic, and it's going down at a mansion style house in Malibu.
Nice.
And we're excited to do that, and provide those places for the tribe to gather. I think that's really important.
Yeah, that is cool. So it's just like a party at a house. You're going to have a gallery exhibit set up.
Yep.
Some food.
Yep. So we'll have the gallery exhibit set up, on Saturday, and we'll have past hors d'oeuvres and then a 2-course meal provided by a chef. And then we will have on Friday night, we have a separate chef that's coming in Chef Wendy Z. She is going to do a canna infused 4-course meal, calling terps and tapas.
Nice.
And so we've got, 4 of my favorite hash makers that are coming together to put on a nice dinner for the tribe.
Sick.
So yeah, it's going to be Miss Baked Taters, and then Meltyplex, and then Who's Who.
Wow.
Yep. And then And then last but certainly not least is, goodness gracious. Hold on one second.
This episode is brought to you by Puffco, the gateway device that still earns respect. Puffcos are a great entry-level dab device. It's not some corny beginner toy. It actually rips. It actually tastes good. It actually respects your rosin. All you do is set it, forget it, and get high. Go to puffco.com, grab yourself one today. Life is hard. Getting good weed shouldn't be. World Needs Cannabis makes it incredibly easy. They have a hand-selected menu, and it's shipped discreetly to your door. If you've been hankering to take a load off, this is how adults buy weed now. Go to worldneedscannabis.com, use code STASH25 for 25% off your order. I'm telling you, you won't be disappointed.
Oh man, hold on.
I got it.
Oh yeah, it's perfect. Divine Melts. I don't know how I forgot that.
Divine Melts. Shout out Divine Melts.
Can I reshoot that order of
We'll
more?
speed that part up a little bit.
Okay. But yeah, Divine Melts. Last but certainly not least, man. Mark has it going on, man. Absolute fire.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
That's
so yeah, we've
awesome.
got those pairings, and then Sunday's going to be kind of a pop-up day where we have a market come together. Those guys are going to be vending out there, and we're going to have
Sunday.
Yep,
Cool.
and we've got a few different sponsors on board that are going to be, definitely shaking things up. WNC, I know that you're familiar with.
Shout out WNC.
Is a diamond tier sponsor.
We love them over here.
That's right. And then we've got the homies over at Number 9 Co.
Okay.
Yeah, Number 9 Co. And then Terp House 845. And
Wow.
so, those are our diamond sponsors helping bring the party together.
That's dope.
Yeah, man.
Is that the 22nd then?
Yep, that's the
Okay,
22nd
cool.
is the pop-up market. So
Very nice.
Prismatic.
Busy weekend.
Yeah, it's gonna
in
be
Malibu.
it's gonna be an experience, and we've rented out. We have rented out all the rooms and as private rooms in the villa. So there's 5 properties there's 5
wow.
buildings on the property, and so out of 21 rooms, we've rented 19. So it's going to be a party, man. We've got everyone
cool.
coming out to stay for 3 days with us, and so that's the Terp Tribe coming out.
That's awesome.
Yep, coming out to make it happen. So
Malibu's most wanted.
Yep, it's going to be a vibe, dude.
Nice.
Yep.
Very cool. Are you fucking with AI at all?
A little bit,
Yeah.
I feel like it's important to study what we don't understand. I feel like instead of fear it, instead of be nervous about it, I think it's important to study it. And so, I interact with AI, and I think it's a thing that it's easy to get caught into overusing. It's definitely like it's a quick fix for a lot of things. Like, for instance, my brother loves to use AI. He just enjoys the hell out of it. And, I enjoy its capabilities too, but I don't find myself going to it quite as often, like for
Speaking it to like a companion.
Yeah. Or going to it for solutions so often, I'll use it like, hey, help me legally draft this document, or help me,
Read this lawyer talk.
Yes. Or something like that. But, basically we were all playing in the yard. We had our 2 family, my brother's kids and my kids together, and we're playing in the yard with this dart where you stomp it and the dart goes up. And so we're stomping this dart and it goes up into the tree and none of us can find it. And so he took a picture of the tree and he said, AI, can you tell me where the dart is in this tree? And, it's scanning, and it's like, no dart, and so he tries again, and I'm just like, okay,
because he didn't get it. He needs a picture to see it.
Yeah, the AI needed a picture to see if there was a dart.
Putting too much faith into it.
Yeah, no, my brother. But
brother,
I just feel like he's, he enjoys the hell out of it, and so I definitely interact with it because I don't want to get into a space with AI like my maybe grandparents did with computers. where
just totally like rejected them.
They totally rejected it. But then there was a time later in their life where they needed to have an understanding, and it started to hurt them.
Yeah.
And then, at like in her 70s, my grandmother learned, okay, this is how to do the computer. This is how to do the Facebook. And she learned all of it, but it took her forever. And it ended up being something that helped her thrive, because in her lonelier stages, she was enjoying being able to connect with her friends from back when she was younger, on Facebook, and have that outlet for different pen pals and stuff. So, we can't eschew technology altogether. It'd be like throwing the baby out with the bathwater type saying. So I feel like it's important to just, to have some understanding of it for sure.
Yeah.
How about you? You on that AI train?
Yeah. I mean, a little bit. And I'm kind of feel the same way how you do. I just want to kind of keep up to date. And now there's that new technology.
Yep.
The Claude.
Yep.
Open Claw.
Yep.
And it's like integrated.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of crazy to say, like, if they're that smart, then can they just start hacking like bank codes? And
yeah, I remember old Musk was on a podcast one time, and he just said that, it was like opening a portal to a demon. And that was like 8 years ago. I can't remember how long ago, but he was that was like on the early discussions of AI.
Yeah, well, like the CEO of Claudebot has like resigned and is just like saying we can't stop it or something, and like moved away. It's just like his retirement now. Wow. I heard that.
Is that right?
And a lot of the like the AI tech people, I mean, there's just no protections.
The thing I don't care for about AI at this point is that, it's getting so good that as I'm looking through the lens of this, this mirror, it's harder and harder to tell what's real and what's not.
Yeah.
And so that becomes unpleasant,
Yeah, like what are we going to do? No one's going to know what's real.
Likes that. And so, yeah, that's like the whole, and everyone, thinks that like, the Matrix is woo-woo talk, but then like what happens when you just really can't tell?
Yeah. Like what if there was on all TVs, it said something and then it's just AI.
Yep. 100%.
So you can't believe it, really, like
100%. Yeah. So it creates a little bit of a cavern of unknowing. The more knowing that we have has created an unknowing, which is fascinating.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a fun thought construct that is from like trying to think of his name, a 15th century French philosopher who basically said that science is nescience, which nescience is like, if you think of putting N-E in front of the word science, nescience.
Okay.
That's nescience. It's like the opposite of science, right? It's like unknowing, And like the reason why he says science is unknowing is because what we study, right? When we know and know and know, what we study is what we currently understand will be disproven in a 10 or 15 year period. Like we can look back on things that we learned in school, right? And and that's not true anymore.
Yeah.
Why? How has that happened? Well, it's happened because we were using science to study the human understanding, but you're studying the human understanding from 20 years before those books were printed. You know what I mean? And so it's like, really, if you're studying science, and you're in the knowing, there's this point of light that is the knowing, but then everything else that is the unknown is cast away. And I think that there's a lot to be known in the unknown, and exploring and being open to, the dark matter, so to speak. We're like always looking for, the answer. We always want to know as human beings. We have to have the answer. Where do we go when we die? What is this? You know what I mean? But really, as we begin to study the human fractal existence, as it opens up more and more, we find that it's changing. It's constantly changing. You know what I mean?
Stay open-minded.
Yeah, it's constantly a new thing, by however increment of time, even moment to moment, I assume.
Yeah.
So
what is it? Why are we here? What is the meaning of life?
Well, it's easy to to think about, and it's hard to know, right? If it was that easy. But I think the meaning of life is different for everybody. I think everybody feels like, they might have come here for a different reason. Some people think that they came here and this is like, this is playground. We should just have as much fun because, alas, we don't know where we go after we die. We go to this implacable wall of black. What do we do? We should enjoy it, And so, then there's people who are in the knowing of, we go, this is a very, Christian, we go to this place, or a very Jewish, or a very, religious construct. And so I feel like within all of those constructs, there's a lot of knowing, and go back to the, And so, for me, I take a lot of pleasure in the unknowing and knowing that anything could be possible. And that I live in a world of near infinite possibilities because of that. And so the meaning of life for me is, falls in line with that earlier spoken credo. But I feel like, the meaning of life is to come here to learn. I feel like this is just one big classroom, classroom earth. We're here to learn and then learn and learn it again, and that's, goes back to a credo of a wise teacher of mine, and of many, Ram Dass, which his credo was love, serve, remember. And, it's like when you said, hey, thanks for the reminder about the glass and keeping it playful, it's magic, it's like, that's his credo. He's like, we're all here just to love, serve, and remember. And when someone forgets, you help them remember. Like, bro, this is a special thing. Life is fucking good, and we're here to love and serve and remember, and so.
And remind.
Yeah. And so that's the thing is it's like, in my estimation, that falls in line with the reason that we're here, man, is to really live this human existence, make the mistakes, go through the pitfalls and try to figure it out. Let people, come out with your thing and your expression and let people talk their shit. Let people tell you where you're not, and then still walk through it and still be you. You know what I mean? Because life's too short to get caught up in doing anything but what you feel like you're here to do. And so that's what I feel like the meaning of life is to come here and genuinely sink your teeth into what you feel like you're here to do, and to live with that vigor, and suck the marrow from the bone of life, man. Like, don't just halfway live it. Life is for the living. So come here and live it, and fucking enjoy that shit. And yes, all the above. If you're here to be a little bit more wild and party centric, do it. You know what I mean? And don't let people tell you that, everything's not valid. Come to this planet to be you.
That's good advice.
It's
very good advice.
It's different for everybody, man. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And all unique and not to be judged. You know what I mean? Everything, I've found that everything is sacred. The more that I've been able to put myself outside of other humans' paths and be like, yeah, I don't live like that. They do that way. That's them. I've realized oh wow, that's taking the sacredness of life from them. It's who am I to say what is valid and what's not valid? Who am I to say what's part of
what if it's against the law?
Well, it depends. It's there's different measures of against the law. You know what I mean? Are they running red lights? Are they sniffing cocaine? I don't care.
Well, if it's against
what I mean?
Zoning,
yeah, if it's against zoning, I guess it just depends on how hard you're affected by that,
Okay.
But all things are sacred. You know what I mean? And it's hard to, and that's real because you bring up the zoning thing. Dude, when we find out people that are really against us, or really against humanity, when we get to thinking about what Bob Marley said, is there a place for the hopeless sinner? Is there a place for the dude who fucks things up or messes everything up and then knows they're messing things up and doesn't care? They're just yeah, this is what I do. I mess stuff up. Is there a place for that person? Because, I would argue that if we don't find how to deal with that in this society, then we're going to be lost as it is.
Maybe they're there to teach other people how to be better people.
Teach while we're teaching, teach while we're not teaching. That's something that, my mom has struggled with addiction her whole life. And through that process of watching my mom go through that, I interacted a lot with her sponsor, and she had this like lifelong sponsor for like, 15, 18 years.
Wow.
And he was a powerful influence in my life because he had done a lot of interpersonal work to heal the things that were making him use, And so he was like kind of elevated, he was the next step beyond where my mom was experienced, And I remember telling him at a certain point, trying to hold my mom accountable for some of her behaviors, her past behaviors at like 22, and then using that as a reason why my behavior was wrong. And so I was telling him like, well, why I talk, why I talk like that is because my mom talked to me like that, and he said, and does that feel valid? Like, because she did that to you, now you get to do that to others. And I thought about it, and he said, man, you got to allow your mom to teach while she's teaching and teach while she's not teaching. And when she's doing these things that you disapprove of, these are things that you can put into your heart as things that you'll never do, and things that you won't participate in, and ways that you won't go about problem solving, and whatever.
That's awesome.
And so
so you were 22 when you connected with this guy?
No, I was like 8 years old. He came into my life as my mom's sponsor, when I was a young man. But we had many deep, profound conversations throughout my life because he was so present. He had done the work. I don't want to say he was healed, because he would tell you, if he was still alive today, Roger would tell you, hey, we're never healed from addiction. Once an addict, always an addict. And so those kind of teachings were always around me. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, when I was 22, I was like still trying to do some childlike shit and hold my mom accountable for some shit she did when I was a child and blame that on that. And he was like, whoa. He's like, dude, teach them while they're teaching, teach them while they're not teaching. And so I try to allow others to do that for me too, because, you never know what someone's going through and what their sacred path is to coming to the realization that we all come to, whether it's on our deathbed or whether it's on our, whether it's like when you're 60, 40, 30, 20, life is sacred. Life is tight. It's worth living. It's fucking sick. It's sick to be up in this thing, dude. You know what I mean? It's sick.
That's awesome. Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah, man. Yep.
So what about, do you do psychedelics ever?
Yeah, man.
Mushrooms?
I believe in psychedelics, man. I think that, they have the power to, just like I always like to think of cannabis as a low-grade psychedelic.
Okay.
Because, it doesn't work on your central nervous system, it works on your psyche. It's something that no matter how many joints you smoke, you don't get a hangover. You know what I mean? Whereas many other substances work on your central nervous system. So I think that there's an accelerated power to that. You know what I mean? And just like it's not good to be fried all day, it's like anyone who's realistic with you about their cannabis use will be like, oh yeah, like, I'm not as productive when I'm smoking all day, every day, and so it's like,
really,
just as I think most people I think most of my friends that I can think of would feel that way, where they're like, it's good to take safety breaks. You know what I mean?
You just inspired me to take one.
Yeah. Well, you know what I mean? It's like, I just feel like, making a correlation to that is the same in psychedelics. Like,
so you don't smoke every day?
Oh, I smoke every day. I just don't smoke. I just don't smoke
all day. Every
I don't
day?
smoke. Yeah, like I'm not. I'm not
8 to 5.
No, like I would just say I'm not. Every day's not a party.
So you don't smoke when you sleep, then, right?
Yeah, of course not. I wake up at 3. I set my alarm at 3 a.m. No, but it's like I feel like
how many times a day do you smoke?
It's different every day, but I try to be conscious of it. You know what I mean?
Do you take a day off?
I try to be aware, of course. Yes.
You do? Of course.
Yes.
What?
I think that's important.
One day a year?
No, I think like it's just like fasting on food. I think it's important to take a little break. You know what I mean? And just take a little reflection, a little tolerance break, or a little reflection break. It's like, dude, if you fast a couple times a year,
yeah, that's really good for you,
bro. You will
that eats cancer,
bro. You will fucking love what food does for you. You will appreciate it again. You will not just go haphazardly through your
body
house,
kind of like
snacking and doing this like thing where you eat because you're bored, or you're just like, oh, should I? Oh yeah, let me just have this. You'll like when you come back from a fast, you realize like, oh my gosh, food is the thing. food is the blessing. Like it's the thing that nourishes my body, and you get this whole new. So you get that same thing with psychedelics. You get that same thing with cannabis. Like it's good to take a little break. Go, oh my gosh, isn't this thing that makes like my life like awesome and makes stresses less and makes.
So when do you set that day up for yourself?
I think that day sets itself up. You know,
just like shit. I need a little break
you can
for
start
a day,
to
or do you take like a week off?
You can start to recognize it in patterns. You know what I mean? I feel like you can start to be like, oh man, like I just creamed that two gram jar of dabs in like a day. You know what I mean? And be like, damn, I could stand to smoke less for my lungs, for my things. So when you start to build the tolerance up, and I think it's a good thing to take a few days off.
Yeah. When's the last time you did that?
Shoot, probably about 2 months ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm doing it.
Yeah, I think like also too, it's like that with fasting. Like it sucks. You don't think to do it. You know, you're not. You know, it's like should I do it? Wait, no food at all for 6 days, 7 days, 5 days, 4 days, whatever. You know,
damn.
The most I've done is 7, but you know, I think even like a 3-day fast. I think there's like.
Are you feeling woozy?
Proven health benefits. Woozy.
Like at the end, sick.
No, I would say woozy. No, but. Like fatigued, yes, easily fatigued. Okay. Like if you ever watch those like survival shows where they're like they're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed on day 1, they're in the Amazon chopping wood, and they're like, we can do this. And then by day 7, they're like, man, you know, like I grabbed a few logs and now I need a nap, you know? And so it's like, that's how you're really feeling.
You got to manage your energy.
Yeah, you really do.
Were you getting hangry?
I was getting more sleepy. I was just getting sleepy. I was just like, oh my gosh, like
leave me alone, I'm tired.
Yeah. For the 7-day fast, I worked out for the first 4 still, which I don't think you're even supposed to.
I don't think so.
But I did, just not knowing. And then by the 4th day of doing that, I was like, man, like this could, you know, I could stand to not work out because I was really fatigued throughout those days. So yeah, man, things that go with that.
Yeah. Well, that's good advice.
Yeah, I mean...
Take a little tea break every once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, you know, anything you can do in this life, whether it's, you know, it's like...
Moderation.
Yeah. You know, it's like, that's the thing, man. You know, psychedelics are tight, but, you know, I always say it's like, don't do psychedelics if you don't do the dishes, you know? And that basically means like, you know, with psychedelics become a flood of awareness. And you can immediately see where you're not. Boom, you get dropped into the room. You're like, holy shit. Like you see where you're proud of yourself. You see where you're not proud of yourself. You see all the blessings. You're like, man, life is so tight. I love the way that, you know, I got this going for myself. I have the most beautiful wife. You have all these different realizations about greater understandings of the universe, interconnectivity to other human beings, et cetera, et cetera. And then that download where does that go? You know, it's like that download, you know, doesn't get integrated. Then it's like that thing that candle gets blown out. You wake up the next day, shit, traffic. Like, you know what I mean? You wouldn't even think to worry about traffic the night before. You know what I mean? You wouldn't even think like traffic, please. It wouldn't bother me a bit. I'll just sit here.
But you think because of the mushrooms the night before, it could potentially bother you the next day?
No, I think that you're just outside of that ultimate halo of awareness that psychedelics provide.
Oh, and then it's gone.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, if you got caught in traffic on psychedelics, you'd be like, let's just tell jokes. Let's just be fun. Let's enjoy the company of these beautiful souls in this car. And you'd see them as such. You know what I mean?
To be intentional after you do it too.
That's
is good.
That's doing
it's like setting new tracks.
Yeah.
You know, if you really be conscious about what you're thinking about.
Yeah. And that's, you know, part of the integration, like doing the work. And for me, that's, you know, where, you know, yoga, you know, reading different literature, like, you know, if you're into different books, you got to stay on them books, you know, even if it's just audiobooks, you know what I mean? Like do you retain
better one way or another?
I wouldn't say I do, but I would just say I am, you know, as you're, you know, you go through those experiences, you're opening yourself to new awareness. So it's a good time to try to do the work and see ultimately, you know, to me, one of the greatest things that psychedelics provide is to see where you're not, you know, and to see like, oh, wow, like, okay, I'm doing all this great. This is all wonderful. Like, okay, but man, this could be improved upon. Like, oh man, why did I do that? Okay, I'm going to do that totally different if that situation pops up, you know, and it really just gives this place to see where you're not. And so, you know, how can you bring that into service of that construct? How can you serve, knowing that, okay, hey man, I'm this imperfect thing, and I want to seek to be a better, more refined thing, and so that's an important thing to do after you have those experiences,
Sometimes it's hard to see too when you're just doing your day to day.
Yeah, you get caught in traffic normally. Most people's innate reaction isn't to be like, oh well, let me enjoy the beautiful company of these beautiful souls in this car. It's like, like, oh my gosh, like I'm late, whatever's happening, I can't believe it,
Yeah.
But like if we get out there and we expect that there's gonna be traffic, you know what I mean, in life, then and like you said, we can start to set up new frameworks to.
I could never see myself in that position though. Really,
which position?
Just like expecting to go wait in traffic, dead stop traffic. I mean, it would if it was busy. That's one thing.
Yeah, yeah.
If the road was closed, I'm not going.
Yeah. Well, the thought is that we go out there in the world and we get mad when there's traffic. We get mad when there's this thing that always is out there no matter what. It's always out there.
Yeah.
We don't know where it is. The traffic could be closer or far away, but we know when we go out there, we're going to hit some traffic. And so people get mad hitting the thing that they know to expect rather than expecting the thing that's there every day. And then if it's not there, isn't that glorious? Look at that. Jinx. Come on. Womp, 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 womp. But yeah, man. Yeah. It's I think some of these, I think it's important to bring some of these thought constructs into our art because that's what keeps me moving and seeking and trying to grow and learn and
So how do you bring that into your art?
Just like that, just like we're doing now. I'm coming on a glass podcast and we're talking about these thought constructs, that's how we do it. When we're in the shop, we remind the homies, I went on, I was recently on another podcast and I walked up to the guy, I've never met him before. And I'm like, yo, dude, what's up? And he's like, yo, I'm like, how you doing? He's like, doing good. I'm like, it's a great day to be alive, my boy. And he's like, fuck yeah. Oh, fuck yeah, it is. And I was just like, yo, man, bringing that energy from these thought constructs, teachers, ideals that, have brought us peace and joy in this lifetime. If we can bring those into the glass, I feel like that's, something that can bring more of a voice to the glass, Glass can,
if you can brighten up someone's day, why not?
Glass can be so sterile, man. It's such objects, they can be so cool to look at, you know what I mean? But it's like, when you can get when you can get them to emit vibes, that's an extra special thing to me.
When someone looks at it and there's an expression.
Yes.
Gives someone
or makes them
feeling.
Yes, 100%. And it's been kind of a humbling thing to get some of the messages I've got over the years where, people are the vibe savers. A simple rainbow ring is just reminding people, of their highest ideals, in different life scenarios too, both good and bad. Oh man, dude, hey, I just got this job promotion, blah, 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 blah. And I got into the car and the vibe saver that I keep over my mirror was shining onto my chest through the sun. It was like, whoa, dude, I was just illuminated with rainbow. It just made me think of you. Thanks for all the good energy.
That's awesome.
And, I've had, notable, products in the industry. It's like I had somebody who makes a really notable product in the industry, and they were on their father's deathbed, and they sent me a picture of a hospital bed, kind of like the foot of a hospital bed, and then a vibe saver, and it was like, hey, this was just calling to me and reminding me, I think he passed away. I think he passed away, but it's like, in all points of life, people have told me yo, and that's like what, art in my estimation should do. It should have the power to make people feel, heal, transform, and vibrate. You know what I mean? I
love that.
Vibes,
So, vibe savers.
Yeah, man. It can't save your life, but if you're open to it, it might save your vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Whoa. So, how we doing? Doing good. We keep going? Are we?
Yeah, I mean, shoot, man. What you got? What do you want to talk about?
I mean, well, if you could tell your 18-year-old self, is there anything 18-year-old Karma needs to hear or would hear? Fast track,
Yeah, I don't know if it would.
Or you got to go through the motions to get where you are.
I think that's it. I was gonna say it. It's like if I could tell my younger self anything, I'd say, stay the course, hang on, stay in there. Keep hammering.
What do you think about? Do you think if aliens landed tomorrow, does your day change at all? That could be coming, dude, because there's talk of it.
Well, aliens.
Disclosure.
Aliens.
You can bet on it, Kalshi.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Well,
2026.
I know. I saw that. Well, the thing is like aliens is such a broad term, right? It's like, what are the aliens? And so it just becomes like
interdimensional beings.
Well, it's funny because the way that this year's been going and the way that some of the revelations of knowledge have been happening, so many things are now possible within the government and within the outer power structure that everyone would have eschewed just a short couple years ago, 3 years, 5 years ago, and so now we're finding out things are not as they seem, and so, what if there were aliens, and what if there were clones, and what if things that, really haven't been as they seem, I mean, I think that it doesn't change much for me as I see it, but what was the name of that movie on Netflix where there was like a comet coming closer to Earth?
Greenland?
No.
Don't Look Up.
Yeah, Don't Look Up. And it's like, I think that was a great way to see like how people would react if aliens were coming.
That was a good movie.
It was a great movie. And it's like, I just feel like, what are these aliens? It's like the age old thing that we've
kind of tested it with that 3-eye Atlas comet.
That's right.
The third one,
That's
Interstellar.
Right.
They're like, oh, it's coming from another dimension. Oh, it's moving. Oh, it's emitting this. Oh, it's got crazy shit. How are we all reacting? No one gave a shit.
Yeah.
No one even heard about it.
Yeah.
Except for me.
Yeah, no,
that was my feed.
I heard about the 3-eye Atlas for sure, and I feel
now
like
it's behind the sun.
Yeah, I feel like,
whatever.
Yeah, it's disappeared for now. But yeah, I feel like
Can you believe that little dot? That's what we get the information from NASA, which means to deceive in Hebrew.
Is that right? I'm not familiar with that.
Oh yeah.
Well,
They've been lying. Do you think that moon footage is?
Well, I think aliens, the moon, and like even flat Earth are fun thought constructs, because what if the Earth was flat, right? And this is the thing I levy onto some of my conspiracy-minded friends, because I enjoy going down the rabbit hole, but like I usually make a nest right at that first little lobe of the rabbit hole. I like to.
But what about lasers?
Hang out there,
high-powered lasers.
Hang out there and tend the tunnel. But basically, my friends that go all the way down the rabbit hole tend to ask me these questions. Like, hey, what about this? And my thought goes to like, okay, so what if the Earth, like if we talk about something absolutely, that most people would deem as ridiculous, right? It's like flat Earth, right? Like, what if the Earth is flat, right? Okay. And then we can just say here, because we have found out now, we're in the understanding and knowing through science and whatever, that the Earth is actually disc shaped, right? How does that help me awaken in this lifetime? How does that help me be a better dad?
Yeah.
How does that help me be a better neighbor? Because, man, honestly, like, as good as I can feel like I am, there's so much work to do. Ain't nobody feel like we figured it out. If you're somebody who feels like I figured this shit out, then you should ascend like an alien. You should ascend like Christ, because you figured this game out. It's a puzzle. You know what I mean? And just when we think that we've got the glass game over here figured out and the art thing figured out, oh, actually, Bitcoin's gone to shit, and now, it's like we can't, and art, and now the path is this way, and we got this is a puzzle. And so for me, I don't tend to ruminate.
You don't need to like have a definitive answer on either or.
No, because
are you leaning to more?
If there are aliens,
Earther?
are they going to help me awaken in this lifetime? Is the shape of the earth going to help me awaken? No, I'm not leaning. And you know what's funny is like I used to just be like, oh, fucking flat earthers, what the fuck? But then I just realized like, oh my gosh, this is like a whole nother sect of human beings who just want to know. They want to be in the knowing. They just want to feel comfortable as a human to be like, oh my God, I'm not in this thing that I don't even fucking understand. I'm not in the thing that could be shaped like a fucking Rubik's Cube. And what does that change? You still have to deal with the human melodrama. You still have to deal with the mud, you know, and no mud, no lotus. So we've got to deal with the mud if we want the fucking flowers. And so to me, like a lot of the greater, you know, where do we go after we die? Well, that doesn't matter so much if you live a life that's not worth replaying. You know, they say your life flashes before your eyes, you know, and we got this early part, this 10 years in the beginning, and we got this, you know, or 10, 20 years in the beginning to get set up. And then we got this 10, 20 years in the end to kind of slow down. And then really what you're left with is a 20-year dash in the middle. What are you going to do? What are you going to do with the dash? I'm here to focus on what I'm doing with the dash.
Wow.
And that's what I want to, you know, that's what I want to infect my people with is like, don't matter where we go after we die. It don't matter if there's going to be aliens. It don't matter. What matters is like right here and now, what are you doing to make the world in which you live a better place? And then everyone's like, yo, thank fucking God Matt Robertson exists. He makes this place a better place.
Oh man, that's inspiring.
Let's go.
I love that.
Let's go, dude.
That's great.
Yeah, man. That's the dash. I'm on the dash. I'm trying to figure out what we do with this dash right here. You know what I mean? Because, you know, it's short. This life is short, you know, and we've you know,
it's really easy to take it for granted. Like I'll get to it. I'll do that when I get my pay upgrade or whatever.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep. And like shout out Peter Muller. I was up in Vermont working with him recently.
Nice.
Getting prepared for my show Prismatic, and man, I had an opportunity to get in the studio and crush another day with him, or you know, go skiing with my family. And he looked me right in the eye and he said, Karma, I've done this ride. I know exactly what the play is right here. And I was like, yeah, we got to get in and crush. And he's like, wrong. You need to get out there and enjoy that time with your family, man. He's like, you got to soak it up. It goes quick. And it's like, and if we don't have that balance, if we look back at our dash and we only did the one thing, you became a superstar glassblower, but you didn't figure out how to treat people. You became a superstar glassblower, but you didn't have no time for the family. You know, it's like, we got to have the balance. That's the thing that's going to like be the thing that makes our dash. We look back on, we go, I achieved some semblance of balance, you know, where I was genuinely trying to have all those things and not just be the one thing.
I love that.
You know, thanks, man.
That's deep. It's a reminder. Yeah.
That was
goes by so quick.
This is all chapter 5, cosmic debris. This is the cosmic debris, man. Like anyone,
write the book, man.
Anyone who's had me in the studio, if we've ever worked together, you know, I like to go deep. I like to go deep fast.
The karma code.
Yeah, man. Let's go.
You know, is there anybody, what's some overrated advice that everybody's, you know, dishing out? Is there
some overrated advice?
Is that even, we cut this?
Yeah, no. Yeah, no, I'm not sure.
You're lost. Okay. Where do ideas actually come from?
That's a fun, you know, that's a fun thing. Like, where do ideas actually come from, you know? And that goes back to like Greek, you know, I think Greek philosophy, where they talk of the muse, you know, like what are we other than the vessel for ideas from a greater thought, you know, or a greater most high of sorts, you know what I mean? So whether you call that the universe or God or aliens, you know, like where do ideas come from? You know, that's a fascinating thing that I haven't quite figured out. You know what I mean?
Are there like settings where ideas are more prevalent? Do you think? Can you set up the right atmosphere to like really have a like brainstorm?
I think so. I think.
Yeah. Do you ever do that?
Yeah, I do for myself. You know, it's, you know, finding the flow state, you know, is a real thing for everybody.
Yeah.
And everyone does it in a different way, I think, you know, but finding a way a part of your day or a part of your weeks where the art flows seamlessly. You know what I mean? That is something that I think all artists can relate to tapping into, because part of the artist's struggle is to figure out how to get into that place where if we were just on the torch creating if we could just turn on a robot switch and just create in that way, we could be prolific, all of us. You know what I mean? But alas, like, a lot of that isn't good for our career. It's not great to be making all day, every day. You know what I mean? It's like, if you make in that way, then you can make too much art. You can make so much art that it's like, oh my gosh, this guy's just pumping this stuff out. It's like, it loses its intention. Mm-hmm. So like, really what people are paying us to do is to slow down and to digest little parts of our day into these moments where we're powerfully creative. You know,
that's beautiful.
You know, because otherwise we're just, you know, no one wants, you know, a lot of our collectors don't want to see us, you know, come into, you know, too much production. They don't want to see, they like to have one of one pieces. They like to have pieces that look this way, you know, or that was a collaboration with this person. And then they like to see that not recreated in that way. You know, they want to see different art pieces, you know, and so they're paying us to do that. You know, they're paying us to take a minute, slow down, have these conversations, have this kind of thing so that we can be inspired to do that. Because otherwise, you think of people who make cups all day in a glass factory. That doesn't, do they seem inspired to you? You know what I mean? Like, you know, a lot of you talk to them, they're like, if I have to make another cup, I'm gonna lose it. You know what I mean? And it's like, so really, you know, we're transmuting that energy and trying to find that space. So I think that if we can find the flow state, however that's achieved for all of us, I think it's important. Some people it's with a round of golf. Some people it's with, you know, making sure they work out or follow a routine. But I think that seeking that state where you're able to create seamlessly for hours on end, 6 hour, 8 hour sesh, you know, it's like, it's important.
Do you try and tap into that?
Yeah. Each and every day it's important. Yeah, it's very important. Like, you know, if something's, I live a very bohemian lifestyle. Mm-hmm. I eat when I'm hungry. I sleep when I'm tired. I create when it's time to create. I don't put parameters on it. The only parameters I put on it is that I'm constantly doing the work, you know, and sometimes the work is to, like I said, you know, my wife, Mary, who's such a backbone of everything that the Karma Tribe gets to experience. She's shipping, photography. She's, I'm gonna
push the button for Mary.
Come on.
Shout out Mary.
Yeah, the light of my life, man. She's a special woman, man. And, you know, people, you know, it's like, it might be time to give her a break. It might be time to send her to the mall to do a little, you know, go and buy some clothes for yourself. She's been saying, oh, I need clothes. Go do that. Go take care of yourself. Like, you know, I'm going to watch the kids and we're all going to go to the open gym, homeschool open gym, and we're going to shoot around. Like, you know, it's sometimes that's part of an artist's lifestyle. That's very important to the artist so that they can create in the way they need to create. So it's like important to me that, you know, it's not important to me when I do what I do. It's just important to me that it all gets done. And that includes caulking the toilet if there's a leak. That includes making sure the bills are paid. That includes, you know, giving my wife a break. That includes taking time for the family, and that includes crushing and making sick pieces, long hours.
That's a lot of things,
you know,
man.
It's like, hey, that's the hats we wear. That's the things we do to make it all happen, you know?
Yeah.
So,
and you enjoy it all.
Man, I'd work 80 hours a week for myself all over again, every day, all day. So I don't have to work 40 for someone else. You know?
Yeah. What kind of things did you have to sacrifice for this life?
What didn't I? What haven't I, man? You got to kind of turn around. If you know.
What does one have to sacrifice? Or what did you sacrifice?
You know, it's funny. I probably didn't have to sacrifice any of it, but the sacrifices that were made in order to stay immersed in my career and stay immersed. I mean, I've missed it all, man. I've had friendships fall, many friendships fall away, close personal friendships where I just couldn't be present for these people. You know what I mean? And we used to talk all the time, and we used to have time for each other. And then it's like, oh, I'm traveling around the country, and, you know, and that's not just for a 6-month period. That's now been for a 7-year period. You know, I've been doing that for a long time. And so, you know, friendships have fallen away. I've missed funerals that I really needed to be at and just wasn't able to string it all together. You know, I've missed family gatherings. You know, my own cat, while I was out doing a show with Salt, me and Salt were having a show in Texas. It's called Salted Karma back in 2022, I think, or 2021.
Karma.
And I was out in Texas, and you know, I had a house sitter that I'd hire that would watch my cats and watch my house, and my cat passed away while I was out of town.
Oh my gosh.
And it was like, you know, very traumatic. You know, it was like, you know, us all sitting around a FaceTime. You know, my sweet friend Jen, she's FaceTimes us from, you know, the room, and we're having to, you know, it was very painful to have to do that. And so it's like, yeah, man, there's been a lot of sacrifice along the way. And, you know, I like to remind people of that, you know, that are getting into it, you know, is that this path does not go without sacrifice. And anytime you're seeking notoriety, or anytime you have a vision that you really feel like needs to be put onto the people, like whether you're a hip hop artist, whether you're a glass artist, whether you're selling Bibles door to door, or selling window treatments, like, you know, if you got a thing that you've created and that you really feel like has the potential to help people, or a potential to like make people smile in my instance, or like, you know, just make people vibe, like you have to, it goes into a path of self-sacrifice. Like you're going to have to eat shit sandwiches for many, many times, you know, and there's going to be times where you go, why did I do that like that? And, you know, face regret, where you're like, oh man, like, you know, what do I do? What do I do different if this pops up next time? So it's been a great teacher, this path, man. And it hasn't gone without, you know, sacrifice and regrets, for sure.
Is it worth it?
100%. I'd do it all over again, man. It's what I'm here to do. If I woke up, man, like, you know, someone who knows me really well, a good close personal friend, he was like, you know, I was a veterinary technician for 7 years, and was kind of, you know, low level management at the practice and at a veterinary practice, and just helped the owner with a lot of different, you know, logistics throughout the day, every day. And so I rose my way up through that practice, and, you know, I rose my way up through the glass industry a little bit. And he was just like, you know, man, he's like, you're a passionate dude. He's like, and when you're passionate about something, you've got that drive that you're just gonna hammer at it. And he's like, I know that you love this glass blowing shit. And I'm like, why do you say that? He's like, because bro, he's like, you just dropped everything with your veterinary stuff because you hit a crossroads with the marijuana, and they just didn't accept you for being, you know, a cannabis user, which now you probably could get away with just like, oh, you only failed dirty for weed. Like, oh, okay, you're a normal person, you know, but like back then it was a big deal. And he's like, but when you needed to shift that passion, and you shifted it onto glass blowing, like, you know, you just ran head first at it. And
yeah, I remember that. You'll have to tune into season 2 to hear that story.
That's right.
That was the weed. Then you made the decision, right?
Yeah. Made the change.
I remember that.
Yeah. And so, you know, if I woke up and wasn't satisfied with this path, I'd have to run head first at another path. I'd have to, you know, I think it's really worth it, you know, and, you know, if you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life, man. Like,
that's right.
Still waiting to get to work.
Yeah. What are we going to do tomorrow?
Oh man,
we've got work.
Yeah, we're gonna
create.
We're gonna play. I think the thing that, you know, everybody's favorite artist, whether it's like, you know, a Japanese pop artist in music, or in pop, you know, pop art, or whether it's, you know, somebody from new times. Like, think of your favorite artist and tell me that they didn't keep whimsy alive. Like, tell me that they didn't have a part of their expression that was keeping play alive. And it's like, you know, from Andy Warhol to fucking, you know, David Bowie. You know, it's like, dude, you gotta there's gotta be some part of you that's fun and playful, and that keeps. Otherwise, bro, it's kind of maddening, you know. If we just have to do all this stuff and there's no fun and there's no play, like, what are we just gonna just do shipping and then pictures and then we're gonna do this and then collector says that they found a crack and we're gonna be like, you know, it's like, dude, we gotta have fun, dude. We gotta puff, we gotta relax, dude.
Yeah,
we gotta, you know what I mean? Like, so yes, tomorrow we're gonna play. We're gonna have a fucking good time, like we always do. We're gonna fucking laugh our asses off. We always find some shit to crack up about while we're together.
You always catch me on something.
Catching each other. Yeah, man. And so, dude, you know, it's gonna be a good time, and we're gonna get into some stuff that I feel like we should have gotten into, you know, years.
You gotta hear my new movie script I got.
Oh yeah, okay. That's right. Classic callback. But yeah, man, like, I think we should have gotten into just a karma stack giraffe a long time ago, man. So we're gonna make a fully caramelized giraffe, man. I'm stoked.
We'll talk about that after. We'll talk about it. Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, I'm excited.
But well, dude, what else?
Well, we got to tell them about. Are we going to tell them about the you know, what? We're known for getting on here and announcing a balled out ski trip together.
Oh yeah,
you know? It's like we got to shout out
Shredapalooza.
Shredapalooza.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be fun. We're gonna go out to Breck this weekend.
Yep,
with the WNC crew too.
Yes,
that's gonna be great. We're gonna do a little team bonding.
WNC crew putting us on, man. We're gonna be creating a fun little glass piece as a tribute to the owner Michael's favorite one of his favorite sports teams, you know, and so we've got some fun stuff up our sleeve, right? Yeah. So
it's gonna be a fun one. Yeah. You know what? That was my favorite team as a kid too.
Was it really?
Yeah, because I just picked it out and I liked the logo, like the Charlottetown.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Hornet. Yes,
the Hornet, dude. I had a bunch of gear, the purple and white.
Oh, dude. I think that's gonna be a sick piece, and you know, I'm excited to get out there on the mountain and shred with the boys.
All right, maybe one last question. Sure. If you had $100 million right now, what would you stop doing immediately?
I'd stop worrying about my retirement.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that something that is on your mind as a aging?
I think everybody, you know, whether you're 30 or 40, you start thinking about it. You know what I mean? And I had a nice 401k account with my veterinary job that I had to cash in and not even think about anymore.
Yeah.
And so, you know, one thing, you know, that the art path is plagued with is disorganization. It's easy to get disorganized. It's easy to get behind. You got to stay really up on, you know, everything. You got to stay conscious of everything. And that goes with financials, you know, and I think it's important for glass artists, you know, since this is the modality that we're speaking to is mostly glass artists. I think it's important for them to be thinking about their financial future and to be saving for a rainy day, because ultimately these things are how we make a living. You know, if these things go down, you know, it's like, do you have money in an account?
Imagine if you just were that disciplined and saved 10% of everything you made, like, since you started making money.
Yeah.
You'd be golden.
You'd be golden.
You
know,
and
the thing is like, you know, it's important to not just stash cash, right? It's to diversify your bonds, as they say, right?
Yeah.
To have security bonds, to have investment in the stock market, maybe a little bit of, you know, a cryptocurrency, maybe some cash reserves, like definitely some cash reserves, you know? And so it's like, it's important to try to build out a framework that makes creating a fun place. And that's something that I don't think people think about either, is that, like, if you're stressing out about how you're going to do the next thing, then it's kind of hard to, you know, let things flow. You know, it's kind of hard to, like, you know, let it be, you know? And so I think
getting your place in the right headspace.
Yep. And so that's probably another thing that I didn't mention earlier. That's a huge part of, like, the headspace, keeping the headspace right, you know? And so, you know, if I had $100 million, you know, I would take 40 million of it and put it in a CD, you know what I mean? And just live off the returns of the CD, you know what I mean? And then I would just gift my family millions of dollars and call it a day. But yeah, I wouldn't worry. And I also wouldn't worry as much about where, my glass was going to sell at. I wouldn't worry about where my art
would free up a lot of time for you.
Yeah, it would free up that, but
would you still be blowing?
Oh, I was going to say I'd have to stay.
Right.
I'd have to stay in the lane.
Much.
I think that's like one of the things about getting successful that I actually have always, that's always been not a fear but a worry. It's like you don't ever want to get too successful, because then the things that you do might not be relevant, and so it's like, if you really love blowing glass, you don't want to quit doing that, you know what I mean? But I guess you could do it in a way that's a lot more, like if I had $100 million and I didn't have to worry about where
a year on a piece, like,
perfect. Or exactly, or just like, be able to push out farther and wider, and be like, oh, hey, wouldn't it be fun to do an art expo in fucking Poland? You know what I mean? And like, this is going to be what we're going to do. We're going to do this thing in Poland. And then if it shits the bed, it's totally doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It's like, you can just be like,
hey, don't ship it back. Just keep it.
Yeah. You know what I mean? If it's not a great expo, it's just like, yeah, you just have fun with it. You know what I mean? So that would be kind of fascinating, but yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, money doesn't, I find that money doesn't cure anything as much as it accelerates intention. You know what I mean? It like if you're somebody who has, insecurities and they're deeply seated and you worry about them every day, that doesn't go away with money. That just accelerates those insecurities. You know what I mean? And so it's important to be like, as you seek success and as you seek wealth, I think it's important to be whole. That's why it's like, the health, wealth, knowledge of self. You know what I mean? Like, wealth comes in many ways. Wealth is financial, but wealth is also like in your, are you wealthy in knowledge? Because, if you're wealthy in knowledge, then you don't need to worry about money. If you're wealthy in knowledge, it can be the knowledge, that takes the money out of another person's pocket and puts it into your pocket, because you have that awareness. You're working on these levels of whatever. You're a businessman, you're thinking one step ahead. You're a landscaper, you have the ability to say, I have this idea, I'm going to put these 3 people to work here, and then we're going to do this. Like, it doesn't matter your discipline. If you're knowledgeable, and and the more knowledgeable you are and healed you are as a person, the better money's going to have a profound impact on your life.
Do you have any business background or knowledge?
My business background comes from I come from a legacy of entrepreneurs. So my grandfather owned and operated the oldest bike shop in the country.
Oh, really?
And yep. It's called KOPPS, Cop Cycle, in Princeton, New Jersey.
No way.
And I never met my grandfather, but a lot of his wisdom came down just through the genetics, I suppose, and through my father, and so who shared different sales things, like I remember one of the things my grandfather told my dad that my dad always told me was like, it's not a good deal unless all parties are happy. It's not a good business deal. It's like, if a wholesaler comes in and sells me a bicycle, it's got to provide for his family, my family, and it's got to make the end customer excited.
It's a good deal.
It's got to be a good deal all the way around. Not one of those facets can be left out, And so there were certain, and then my dad, he owned and operated a business called Automotive Enhancements in Atlanta, Georgia for 30 years. And so that business sense came to me where it was like, a lot of, I got to watch a lot of belly to belly sales. I got to watch him make a profound amount of money, and then I got to watch him lose it, and then I got to watch him regain it, and he went through some of those entrepreneur struggles. And so, there was a lot of times my dad was forced up against the wall, and he did what he felt like was right. And, I remember, there were a few times where I was like, oh man, I was like, oh, Dad, that was like, you dealt with that guy in a very like matter of fact, like stern way, and you didn't give him an inch, and he's like, well, the funny thing is like, you got to do right, and you got to do right by yourself as well. But when your head hits the pillow at night, you want to be able to say that, like, I did what I felt like was right. You know what I mean? Even if it wasn't the straight, you know, whatever is the quintessential thing, you know, it's like you got to be able to, you know, do that. And so I think that that's a huge part to enjoying your wealth, is not having been, you know, not done things to muddle that success on the way up, so that you look back and you go like, oh man, like, you know, I can't really enjoy this, you know?
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good advice too. Very good advice. So what happened to the bike shop?
Yep, still going.
Oh, it's still going?
Yep.
Is it
Yep.
in your family?
Yep, my uncle owns and operates it. Yep.
Very cool.
Yep, still running.
Very cool.
But yeah. Yeah.
So Granddaddy Karma was like the original Karma good dealer.
Yeah, he just a couple of years ago, I got to weave a little magical thread where I had a show at Stoked in 2023 in like October, and my grandfather got inducted into the Bicycle Hall of Fame that same weekend. And so posthumously, yeah, you know, and so it was like we got to go accept the award for him at the Bicycle Hall of Fame. So that was a really special moment for me to see how many people and meet so many people that appreciated my grandfather and was like, wow, you look just like your grandfather. Like, oh man, he
cool.
was
was this?
This was in 2023.
Oh, 2023.
In October of
Okay.
2023. So yeah,
Cool.
I got to go up there and I got to, you know, celebrate him. And he was also the 76 Olympic bicycle coach, you know, and so he was coach for the Olympic bicycle team, and you know, he was big into.
Were they juicing back then?
You know what? I have no idea, but you know what? I think every athlete's always found a way to try. I mean, even if juicing was just eating 12 raw eggs every morning, you know what I mean? Like, as humans, we've always tried to figure out the best way we could show up and be our best. You know, it's like, should we not use borax? Because, you know, it's like, that's right. Yeah, exactly. It's like, we got to use the borax, dude. So just in moderation, right? You know?
I guess, yeah.
Well,
it's the Lance Armstrong, right?
Yeah. Well, hey,
Sport.
you know, it's funny. It's like you pull back the curtain and you find out that, like, if you weren't doping in the Tour de France, you were actually just, you know, you were one of few. There was like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people doping, and then there was only a handful that weren't. You know what I mean?
When was that? The Lance Armstrong days?
Yeah. So and I'm sure still to this day. You know what I mean? I think it's like that with, like, even like the UFC. You know, it's like they have USADA so that they can show face that, like, yeah, we test everybody, but there's like,
do you think
you're getting a test on? Oh yeah, I think it's pretty well. I don't think so. I think it's like this. It's like this.
I don't think Gaethje
it's like this, man. If they're not using some performance enhancing that's been outlawed, like some fucking cattle fucking growth hormone.
Change it by one molecule.
Or they just fucking are like on methylene blue and they're on like 1,700 supplements. They're like, dude, I don't dope. I just fucking run GNC out of supplements, dog.
My piss is bright green.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, so I think even when they're not doping, they're doping, right? They're trying to perform at the highest possible potential, which, like, you know, I'm actually not like huge.
They try and cut their weight right before, right?
Yeah, I'm not huge into sports. I don't watch a lot of sports, but like, if you're gonna get in the cage and try to beat the shit out of another human being, like, I would say go ahead and get those eggs or get that creatine or whatever is gonna make you. You
eggs
know, it's like,
and steroids are two different.
Yeah.
Things, but yeah,
I agree, but also like,
because I watched the Smashing Machine. Have you seen that movie?
Nuh-uh.
With the Hulk, or not the Hulk, but Dwayne The Rock Johnson. He plays an actual guy who was the first like UFC fighter.
Oh.
And he was a big dude, but he was addicted to painkillers, and he would like just stick him in his arm. Oh. And then he like got off of them. Okay. I don't want to blow the movie, but
yeah,
it was I guess back in the day.
Yeah. It's tough. It's tough to say, man, because it's like, man, that 97, that baseball season in 97 when they were knocking homers out left and right is like the most exciting season of baseball that's ever existed.
Oh, and then they like banned steroids the year after.
And it like dropped, like like homers got cut.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, I
like,
think
no more
so.
steroids.
Yeah, Mark McGwire was like one of the main ones. Remember, because they went through the whole thing with doping in baseball, and they like called like people on the stand to talk about whether or not they had, you know, used steroids. Which
have you seen Doc Ellis? his
oh yeah, the no hitter on LSD.
Yeah,
of course.
that's great.
Yeah, of course. That's legendary.
awesome.
That's legendary.
Yeah.
That's legendary. That's like,
So good.
that's a testament. That's a
A
testament.
little cartoon too
Yeah,
of it.
yeah,
That's so great.
Yeah, dude. But yeah, I'm a live and let live kind of guy, man. I say if like you want to take steroids, man, like, go for it, man. Like you want to, it's like,
You want to take steroids?
yeah. Like I think it's odd that, we allow people to go fight for our country in the military at 18 years old and then take a bullet to the neck, but they can't have a beer. It's like there's so many arbitrary rules to me that it's like, I don't think it's good that, basically my thought is, you should be able to do what you want, but if it infringes on me and my family, then that's when I even start to care about it. But it's like, if you want to go, do, crazy stuff, get your muscles all crazy, and then you want to get into a fucking cage with somebody and beat the brakes off them, like, I don't know why that, that matters to other people. But
Imagine that if they could just like smoke a meth pipe and then in their corner.
Charge up in the corner, dude. Like
The coach is like got a tray of something here.
There's no rules.
There's no rules.
Oh my gosh, that's like Total Recall. Is that what that movie was? Or no, Running Man. Running Man. Did you ever see Running Man?
Did they give him drugs?
No, they don't give him drugs, but it's like basically it was just like, it was a free for all, like the world had become a free for all. And like one of the main shows was like,
yeah, I think I did see that.
Yeah.
There's a new Running Man.
Oh, is there?
Now.
Is there? Okay. Yeah. And it's
that's like a 20-year-old movie, right?
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
Or more than that.
Yeah. More than that. Yeah.
Like 40.
Yeah. God.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's like, dude, when the society just lets everything roll and you're flipping through the channels and that's what it is it's like, there's no rules. You can take anything in the corner. You can just bring out
guns.
No guns. I'm just saying
knives.
Like, no guns and knives. I'm just saying like, there's no rules. Like if you want to go back to your corner and have a Gatorade to freshen up for the next round, or you want to go in there and just take some unknown cocktail that your corner provides for you.
Is this in the movie?
No, but I could see this see this in a dystopian American future for sure.
Well, some of these movies, that came out like Idiocracy and 84, they're starting to seem a little more like more people use AI and rely on it, and they rely on it from like birth to older age. They're gonna not be using their wheels as much, and
it's like
when it shuts down, it'll be like, oh, how do I operate? What is this?
It's like when we got phones. Like I used to know 10 phone numbers off the top of my head. I think now I know like 2 of them. I know mine and my wife's. I don't know my dad's.
I know my parents. So.
I don't know my dad's. I don't know my dad's off the top of my head because he did, about like 8 years ago, he changed his phone thing. He's like, I'm changing my number because he's like, I'm getting a deal. He's like, it's a deal of a lifetime. He's getting like a family plan with like 6 phones. He's like, everyone's getting
a good number, and they bought it off of him.
Yeah. So he was like, that's the only thing he had to do was get one of the things. Couldn't transfer his number. So yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I don't remember.
Did you ever call the other guy? Like, Dad?
No, because
who's this?
No, because with phones, like I'm rarely in a position where I'm dialing a number.
Yeah.
It's like, it's speaks to the AI thing. It's like, it's kind of made us lazy. It's like,
Yeah.
We don't dial a number. We just touch a thing, or we touch a single button and say,
what's the weather out?
Yeah.
Instead of looking outside.
Yeah.
What's the weather going to be?
Siri, call Dad.
Looks like it's going to be cloud seeding today.
Yeah.
That's what they do, dude.
Hey, well, it's funny. It's just like a lot of the other kind of interesting revelations of 2026 that, they used to say that was just something that, oh, wow, that's kooky that they can make it rain, or that they would make it rain, or that they would seed. And now it's like illegal in like 14 states. Like, it's like,
but they still do it.
Yeah, I'm sure. But I'm just saying, like,
do you think the state line blows?
The fact that there's regulation against it should say everything we need to hear,
We're guinea pigs, dude. They're testing it out on us.
Yeah, well, that's, there's truth to that. I mean, if you look
needs snow.
If you look all throughout time, right, we're like, it's like we're some of the freer of the of the guinea pigs, though.
Yeah.
You know, or at least we have the divine illusion.
Thanks for the perspective check.
The divine illusion of freedom. Because if you think back, you know, it's like, you know, back in the day, the subjects of the kingdom, they built the pyramid. You know what I mean? That's who lined up.
That would be you and me.
That's who lined up. We'd have blocks on our backs. You know what I mean? And we wouldn't be able to say like, oh man, we feel like we're
built the Great Pyramid of Giza.
Huh? Yeah. Yeah, you don't think you
think those ones?
You don't think that was done? Like, you think that the pyramids or any effigy like that? Do you think that was by thousands and thousands and thousands of humans that were all in it for the same goal? And we're like, yeah, we should build a shrine.
Or
aliens.
Or guidance from aliens.
Yeah, I mean, it could be for sure.
And what about those four?
Anything's
What about
possible.
the Great Pyramid of Giza? That one. Those ones, they all got shittier after that, right?
Yep, that's true.
And that one was like, there's no hieroglyphics on it.
Yep.
And it's like perfectly coordinated with the speed of light, the same number of all the stuff about that one. Yeah. And now they're finding out these like massive towers underneath that go like kilometer deep.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Well, I mean, that example aside, like we would be subject to
those ones. I think maybe
the Grand Inquisitor.
Every other one I think humans built, but those four,
sure. Well, but
questionable.
But either way, it's like, you know, the Grand Inquisitor could hold our fate. You know what I mean? Or the king, or you know, oftentimes, you know, like you look at how, you know, our form of modern, you know, oppression, or you know.
So we got it good.
We're space age slaves, you know what I mean? We got it going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we got it going on.
We're slaves to our phones.
Yeah,
and Instagram and social.
That's the thing.
Media.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, you know, we're all connected into this algorithm type.
Yeah, it's good to tap out from like the mainstream shit, because boy, that's just really look here, get mad about this.
Yep.
Like just.
Well, you know, it's like they found something that sells more than sex, man, and that's, you know, aggression, you know, rage, you know, and so like the whole thing has become just a big, you know, rage bait, where it's just like
rage bait,
just tries to get you to leave a comment. It's just a thing to try to get you to leave a comment.
Yeah,
you know? And so, you know, that's the funny part of being an artist in this day and age, where you're trying to navigate, like, you know, you're putting your stuff next to, you know, images of people being shot and people being, you know,
and that's getting pushed, and my shit's not getting pushed.
And then, well, it's not even
Instagram,
it's not. I wouldn't even say that it's not getting pushed. It's that, like, bro.
Well, I see how many followers I have, and then I see how many like people. You know,
right? But
it's just like,
let's think of it like this. Let's think of it from a hip hop tradition, right?
Okay.
So as hip hop, it's always been said by Blastmaster KRS-One that, like, we need to be going for the gusto. We cannot be going haphazardly into this expression. So like when people see me and they're like, "Oh, Karma, you're so lit up, you're bouncing all around," it's like, that's not at all a put on. That's how I feel about life. Life is to be lived. Like, we have to go for the fucking gusto. Because when you look at the gangsters out there, they got guns in Chicago. They're killing people. They're not going half in. They want the money. They want the bread. They want people to die if that's what it takes. They're in it to win it. You look at the government, they're in it to win it. They want to make sure that you know that they're going to be the ones at the heads of industry, at the heads of what is pollution, what does that mean on our planet? They're running shit, right? What are we doing? You look at the girls on the OnlyFans models that you're scrolling through, and all these little thirst traps. What are they doing? They're going for the gusto. They got their pants off. They got a thong. They're shaking their ass trying to get your attention. What are we doing as artists, you know, to go for the gusto? What are we doing to look back and be like, yo, I'm fucking in it right now, and I'm putting my shit out there every day? And so, like, people like, oh, they'll hate on you for being like a post a day kind of person, but it's like, bro, what are we doing to compete with Babylon? What are we doing to compete with all the confusion out there? That, you know, I know when people come to my page, it's a space. It's a respite. It's an oasis from all that other bullshit. It's like, oh, wow, you ain't gonna get no drama over here on Carmen's page. You can get it's like, oh, he's gonna be putting out a little saying out there. He's gonna be referring me to some other music, showing me a cool piece of glass, reminding me life's worth living. So it's like, what are we doing to go for the gusto to throw logs on the council fire and show people like, yo, this shit's tight, because it is.
That's great. Fuck yeah. That's why we do it.
Yes, sir.
Shit, man. Well, we're doing pretty good. We could wrap this up and we could take a little breather and maybe come back.
Yeah, whatever you're feeling, man.
We're 2 hours in. That's a pretty good.
You're the boss.
Well, why don't we wrap this up, because we're gonna do a little project too. We're gonna stay up all night. Tomorrow. Crush something out. So we'll come and record us planning it out.
Oh, that'd be fire.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, thank you so much.
Hey, thank you, man.
Good luck at your show.
I want to say...
I hope to see you there.
Yeah, I want to say, man, since I got the mic, it's been a pleasure watching you grow this podcast, man. Your heart is in it. You're a natural interviewer, man, and I just appreciate you having me on to be able to talk about the tribe so much, man. It's
well, you'll be back, and thank you for coming on.
Yeah, man.
3 times now.
Hey, man.
Go check out the other episodes on the past seasons. They're great.
Please do. It's more of my origin story and some other things, but yeah, man. Thanks for being the portal.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely,
man.
Man.
Thank you.
Much love, brother.
Thank you. All right, man.
Sir.
Well, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Later.
Jinx!
All right. Thanks for tuning in to the Robertson Stash podcast. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you want to support us, please hit the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, we want to hear from you. So if you have any comments or questions, please feel free to reach out. Hit the website, hit the link. We'll see you next time.